Chris Williams, Chris Hassel. Two guys named Chris. Presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys Named Chris. We are fired up for a huge show today, day 2 of the NCAA Tournament. Iowa reaction, look ahead to Iowa State, Pitt,
Listen.
and Drake, Miami. What?
You hear that?
No.
You don't hear that beeping?
I can't hear the beeping. You're like obsessed with the beeping.
Okay, all right.
I haven't heard any beeping.
Okay. I've got heavy machinery in my backyard. I apologize. You might hear some beeping. Yeah, you might hear some beeping because they're going right past the
unnecessary censorship. Don't be alarmed. I hear it. It's there. It's okay.
Yeah, Williams, you got too much gunk in your ears, I guess. Yeah. So I've never worn this shirt before. We get all kinds of swag from CBS.
That's a sweet shirt.
Every March Madness, and I just like, where am I going to wear a polo March Madness shirt to? Like, am I going to wear this to the dog park? No. So I figured
flex, bro.
Yeah, I'll break it out for Two Guys Named Chris.
Look great. I am in the O. Henry Hotel.
The O. Henry. Okay. How's that?
They every day from 12 until 5, you can have tea time in the lobby.
Tea time?
Yeah, and they got like British music. I'm a little uncomfortable at this hotel, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's got real
too foo-foo for you?
Real not Confederate, real red coat vibes. I think they're like trying to be like British.
Matt wants to know if it's haunted.
Well, I have not had an experience yet at the O. Henry Hotel.
What is it? The O. Henry? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's the ballroom there. Where if you go out there at like 2 in the afternoon, it's just little girls in dresses and their moms, and they're all just drinking tea and talking like very proper.
That's really odd. Now, why are you at that hotel? You're in Greensboro, right?
Yeah, it's the media hotel.
The media hotel. Okay. I was wondering like why Cyclone Fanatic would put you. I figured you guys would go just real cheap, dirt track, Bush Light, Motel 6, right off the interstate.
Well, we like to, like for bowl games, I'll get us like an Airbnb and we'll just all stay in the same house and whatever. But with these tournaments, as you know, the media shuttle and the certain amenities you get are just
it's always invaluable. Good to be at the media hotel. And you know
so
how
much
I know
easier.
that? I know that because when Keith Murphy used to send us for Channel 13 back in the day, we never got to stay at the media hotel because the station would always say it was too expensive. I remember one time they sent me out to the Little League World Series, and I shit you not. You're not going to believe this. They sent me to the Little League World Series. They made me share a motel room with a photographer from the Register who I had never met before. Just some 40-year-old guy. We had to share a room together for a week in a
Corporate
motel.
Media, man.
We had to share a rental car. Man. You want to talk about haunted? That's a haunting.
Well, the amount of money you save staying here because of the shuttle alone at the media hotel is just, hundreds of dollars by the end of the week. But anyways, yeah, this hotel is actually somewhat new, but I did some research on it because anytime I go on these road trips, I get ready for the haunts. I go hunting. I go on a big hunt.
Yeah, Charlie in the comments says, pretty sure those girls and moms drinking tea are most likely ghosts. Those are...
Yeah, I took a picture from it the other day on my Twitter.
That's a picture you took? That is a picture that my dad would take. Any picture that my dad takes, I can always see his dirty jeans and dirty shoes. Like, he can't just take a picture of whatever it is. He has to get his stupid shoes. Oftentimes he's wearing shorts, so it's like his pasty white legs with his really dirty shoes in it, dad shoes. You look like you're wearing astronaut shoes. What are those things?
I actually bought those. You want to know the true story behind
Neil
those
Armstrong wore those on the moon.
Here's the story behind those shoes. There's actually a real basketball story I could get into the game. So when we were in the Phil Knight, when I was calling the Phil Knight Invitational for Iowa State this year, I realized that I didn't have any Nike gear.
Oh,
and
you thought about that?
And I'm walking around with the team, and they're a Nike school. Anyways,
is Iowa State a Nike school?
Yes.
Okay.
So you get to downtown Portland, and I was like, you know what? It would probably be a good team move to go and just buy a pair of Nikes.
Yeah, for the team, not necessarily for Phil Knight, but for the team.
No, but I didn't. I had those. What are they called? I don't even know what they're called. They're like QC. They're like the cloud shoes. You know what I'm talking about? The new ones. They're like European. Everybody
Clown
loves
shoes.
Cloud. I don't even know.
No, I don't know, man.
Man.
How long are we going to delay talking about Iowa getting just pillaged again?
Just about 30 more seconds, because I want to thank our great sponsor, Fairway.
All right, go ahead.
Grocery.
Thank the sponsors, and then we'll
Fairway
get into it.
Meat and Grocery. We appreciate all of their support.
Still waiting on that Fairway meat box, by the way.
Giant box of meat. Of course, we're the Channel Seed Studios have been all over the place.
They're spreading their seed all over the country.
Yeah.
With our travels.
Next week, I'll be spreading my seed in Vegas. I'll be with our friends at Circa in Vegas doing special shows with John Miller as we are there for the Sweet 16. So we're all over the place.
I am jealous. Wish I could be there with you guys.
You still can be there, Chris.
No, I got that pregnant sister coming over.
Yeah, that's true. Iowa, do you call it a flop if they're in an 8-9 game? I mean, they weren't really favorite.
Well, here's why I will allow that. The way they finished the season got them into that game. They flopped the last game of the regular season in the Big Ten tournament. And then for the majority of this game, they were terrible. So, yes, I'll allow that. It was close to being a pathetic performance until Iowa had their patented run. Why does it always take this team until they're down 15 to get their ass in gear? They made it a game. They made it interesting, but Auburn was clearly the better team. Auburn played harder. I got a text from a guy who I really respect, not an Iowa fan. He played college basketball. He's an analyst and a good friend of mine who is always fair, always, and has some ties to this Iowa program. He said he was watching the game, and he said, quote, "I have not seen an Iowa player just run back on defense yet. Every single player complains after every call. Don't know if I've seen a team do that more this season." And it sums up my thoughts exactly. Not just for this game, but for the season.
I thought it was troubling when Tracy Wolfson, Wolfson, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
When they went to her for a sideline hit with like 10 minutes to go in that one, and I'm paraphrasing, but she's basically said that like Fran is begging his team to sprint down the floor. It was like, God.
Yeah, she said he's
NCAA
pleading
tournament
with his team
to
get up and down the floor. Not good. This is the NCAA tournament, folks. This was the last game for several of those players. Uh-oh. Don Hassel has gone off the edge. Don Hassel, a staunch Fran defender and apologist over the years, says, "Fire Fran. Fire Fran. I've had it."
Well, you can't do that. His contract's too large.
I'm almost certain that Gary Barta was in the building last night. They showed him.
He was on TV.
To sign Fran to another extension.
He was on TV. We know he was there. All right, can I give
from your perspective, Chris?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Well, I'm gonna come at this from a little more of a macro view because the obvious question this morning is less about that in particular game, and it's more why does Iowa always seem to flame out early in the NCAA tournament? And I don't have the exact data, but I know that it's very, very real that teams as unbalanced as the Hawkeyes are tend to have a really tough time advancing. So
Yes.
Iowa's going to end the season ranked third in offense and 166th in defense. I want to say, like, there's some stat out there where if you're not in the top 50 in both, you haven't won a national championship or gone to a Final Four. Like, it's very – and again, I apologize to our listeners that I didn't have time to pull all of that data. But it's very simple to me.
And you don't have to be top 10 in both. You just have – you can be elite in one and just not absolutely horrible in the other.
Yeah. So why does Iowa keep getting exiting this tournament early? Well, you can't count on offense all the time. And Iowa has struggled shooting. We've seen this. So why do they keep getting down 20 and making these comebacks? Well, it's because your defense sucks. Like, it's very this is not a complex thing when you're talking about Iowa basketball. There's a direct correlation to deep runs in the NCAA tournament, and Iowa's recipe is not good for that. And you know how I'm pretty good on this is because I watched it with Fred Hoiberg. Those teams had multiple NBA guys, and you look back at the Hoiberg era at Iowa State, and you go, wow, they kind of underachieved. They should have done deeper in the NCAA tournament with as many NBA dudes as they had. But they didn't play defense worth a lick. And if you get into one of those games, the UAB game is a great example where the shots are cold, you can't make a shot, and you can't get a stop. You can't be 166 in defense and just expect to, advance into the second round. I mean, you may get lucky, and that may happen every once in a while, but you get into this tournament, and you look at Arizona yesterday. It was a much better team than Iowa, and they got stumped, punked by Princeton. They got to get better defensively. What's the answer? I don't know, because Fran's teams have really never been good defensively. I kind of feel like at this point you are who you are, but that's the easy answer. It's not that Chris Murray is one of the best players in this tournament, I believe, right? Like, you have some guys. It's not like, oh, your talent's just garbage, but they don't play defense. And we had direct example of a freaking sideline reporter telling us that Fran was pleading with his team to get him to run down the floor. Like, that's a culture that doesn't place any value on the defensive side of the basketball. And especially in this era of college basketball, Chris, when everybody's getting older and the games are getting uglier, you have to be better on that end. So there you go. There's my takeaway.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And those Hoiberg teams were like this, but to a much lesser extent. I mean, Hoiberg still made a Sweet 16.
Yes.
And he was only at Iowa State for 5 years. He had 4 NCAA tournament wins in 5 years, I think. And I think Fran has 4 total in.
Yeah, I'm just saying they didn't make
13,
those deep runs.
Right. Usually... They didn't go as far as they could have because, yes, they did not do well on the defensive end. And
but it's why I was so inconsistent, man. Like, you're not going to go out there and hit 15 threes every game. Offense can be in, and they don't have elite talent. They have fine talent, but like the Hoiberg teams had NBA guys, and I know that the Murrays and stuff, but they had
the Murrays and Garza. The problem is those guys often tend to these McCaffrey stars, for whatever reason, often disappear for large stretches in games. Last year, it was Keegan who disappeared toward the end of the Richmond game in the second half. Didn't do anything. Chris didn't do anything in the first half of this game. I thought they were extremely fortunate to be in the position they were at halftime, only down 5 points. Normally, when Iowa plays like that on the offensive end for a full half, they are down big. But they did a good enough job defensively in that first half. Auburn was only shooting like 35%, which if you follow Iowa, you know that opponents usually shoot. I mean, the numbers are staggering over this second half of the conference season. into the tournament. I mean, I guarantee you, on average, teams are shooting over 50% from the field against Iowa, which is an insane number. But then in the second half, Auburn, they averaged 6.5 threes a game. They hit 7 threes in the first 9 minutes of the second half. And boom, the lead is 17, and it's a huge uphill battle from there. And we saw Iowa a couple of times make miraculous comebacks. That was at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And those are like once in a lifetime type that you can't count on that. And why does it always have to come to that? Why? The point you make about Iowa not being a good defensive team, I do think that they've leaned a lot more into that in recent years. And it might have started because of Garza, because when Garza is your best player, he's got to be out there on the floor, and he's a defensive liability for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
These last few years, the defense has gotten substantially worse. Because you think back to, like, remember Gabe Olashaney inside? He was a great defensive player.
Yeah.
Like, those teams were much better defensively. You had guys inside like
defender.
Who?
Basabi.
Oh yeah, Basabi too. Those are early McCaffrey
good
teams, but I believe they were McCaffrey
Peter
teams
Jock
that won
was a good
games in the
defender.
tournament.
Peter Jock could play defense.
And for whatever reason, they've kind of gone away from that. But
I got him mixed up with somebody. Jock didn't play defense. I'm sorry.
I didn't think so, but
I'm sorry. I got him mixed up with.
He is one of those guys that would disappear for long stretches.
My apologies.
Look at these Auburn guys though, and the way those guys played defense. I mean, just the length, the talent. They were just destroying Iowa inside, destroying them. And again, this was an Auburn team that on paper was the coldest team entering the tournament. Dating back over the last 6 weeks, no team had a worse record than Auburn. They were 3-7. The next worst records, Iowa State, 4-6. TCU, 4-6. But this once again goes to it really doesn't matter how you finish the season, which is why I was still giving Iowa a chance as well to win this game, and I thought they would.
I picked them to win.
I didn't really care about what they did those last couple of games. But what we really should have been focusing on is what they do away from home. And with outside of the Indiana game, which I don't understand that game at all, and I don't know how good Indiana really is. Outside of that, they were just a terrible team away from home.
Well, the rims were tight yesterday, though.
How about all those excuses coming in? Even before the game started, the tight rims, the Wilson ball. Wilson! That damn Wilson, says Matt Sampson. Like, they didn't make a single three in the first half. That was the first time in 2 years that they didn't make a three for an entire half.
It's the rims.
Now, nobody expected this Iowa team to go to the Sweet 16.
No.
But here we are again.
Well, the one thing is,
round.
It's kind of a missed opportunity, too, because if Sasser's like hurt,
Houston looks gettable right now, don't they?
Yeah, like this was like an opportunity to jump up and get them. I mean that Auburn Houston game is going to be a freaking war, dude.
I would love to see. Is there an early spread for that game? Because it can't be that much.
I don't have my.
It's got to be like Houston -4.
I'll look it up here real quick.
And that's going to be.
I see one on
game for Auburn.
It's Houston -5.5.
5.5.
Play Auburn.
Jeez, I would take Auburn. Oh boy.
Play Auburn.
If you can get it at 5.5 right now, yeah. Now, Houston's a really good team. They've been the favorite all year. They have one of the best coaches in the country. I think that they'll perform better next round, but We don't know the health. We
Yeah,
don't
I don't
know if
wanna
they're
be
going to be healthy enough.
bracket guy because you guys don't give a shit about my bracket, but I had Houston winning it all
I do
because
too.
I thought Sasser was going to
Why
be
did they
better.
even play Sasser? I mean, did they? I mean,
I
they
was
obviously
surprised
maybe
too.
needed him, and it was only an 11-point game. But I was kind of surprised they even put him in because he came out and you could see him grabbing and in pain. So
Agreed. I was really surprised to see him play, and they should have had enough, much more than enough, to handle Northern Kentucky in that first round.
Yeah, they were
But
bad.
that's back-to-back games now that Houston has not been good. So Auburn's in a good spot with that home crowd, and they're going to get more in there. I think we overvalued. There was talk about all these Alabama fans. They hate Auburn. They're going to be in there cheering for the Hawkeyes. We clearly overvalued that, and what I think most of us failed to get was that Alabama played in that game right before Auburn. And then there's like an hour and a half break between that game and the Iowa game. Like, you're really going to sit there and wait that out just to root against Auburn? No. I don't know that I've ever seen fewer and heard fewer Iowa fans at an NCAA tournament game. There was like no reaction when Iowa would make a shot from the crowd. You could hear the players, the friends and family.
I don't want to be a jerk, but if you're an Iowa fan, why would you travel to Birmingham for an 8-9 game?
That's the response I got from a lot of people on Twitter last night when I asked about that. Was like there were some people like, I live in Birmingham, but there's no way I'm paying that kind of money to see this team lose.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to Iowa State. Drake playing tonight as well. Iowa State is tipping off here in a few hours, really.
How we feeling?
Here's the deal. On paper and everything we know, Iowa State should win this game, right? Like they're a 4 to 5 point favorite. You're a Big 12 team taking on a Pitt team that limped through the ACC. But here's the thing a couple things that scare me about this Pitt team, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
One is it's two very old teams. So Iowa State is the 6th oldest team in college basketball. Pitt is the 13th. So I guess my point being that this isn't going to be a team that is, frazzled by the moment or anything like that. Pitt's ready to go. 2 is they're a really good offensive team. So there is a possibility here that Pitt turns into that hot team. They're that 11 seed that's just good enough on offense where they could, be that 11 seed that makes a run to the Sweet 16. I think Arizona State's got a shot to do that too. And they're taking on USC. I'd much rather be playing Pitt than Arizona State.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah.
Fortunate, I think, to be playing that 11 seed and not Arizona State.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that basketball-wise, everything we know, I like Iowa State's chances today. I think that their level of defense is something that that Pitt hasn't seen very much. There's another little aspect to this, and this is probably me overthinking this, but Pitt played in this exact building a week ago in the ACC tournament. Now they lost, but there's that familiarity with the arena. I don't know. I do know this. Iowa State will win the game. Here's my not hot take at all on this thing. As long as Kalsher and Holmes aren't one of those 4 of 25 type of games, I think Iowa State will win. For what it's worth, and I just did this kind of tongue-in-cheek yesterday, but I thought it was really interesting. He gave me a really good answer. I asked Kalsher at shoot-around. I was standing in the corner, and Gabe was just over there taking corner threes. And I said, do you like the Wilson ball? Just because everybody's freaking talking about it. We went to the Pitt press conference. The first thing that they talked about was the damn Wilson ball. It's just like, God. So I'm like, all right, well, let's ask some Iowa State guys. Like, I'll get in on this. And Gabe gave me the most like common sense response. He goes, "Yeah, I love it." He goes, "I practice with it all the time. I don't see what the big deal is."
And that leads me to wonder,
It's like, oh yeah.
do these other teams, I'm mostly wondering about Iowa, do they ever practice with the Wilson ball? Or do they just try to flip that switch once the tournament starts?
I don't know. Next, I wasn't trying to make a big deal out of this, but I just was like, oh, this is Iowa State shooter, and he's right here, and everybody's talking about it, so I'll see what he says. And he's like, yeah, I love this ball.
Did you guys
Practice
see
with
this?
it all the time.
There were like 4 wedgies in the game at Wells Fargo yesterday.
Yeah, I heard that according to the announcers, and I don't know if they were saying this tongue in cheek or if this is an actual stat, but it's the most 4 wedgies, the most in tournament history for a single site.
Is that the ball? Like that has to be the ball or the rims? Like
maybe it's those. Wait, I thought you said it was. Don't Iowa players say it's slippery?
I don't know.
Because if it's slippery, that would lead you to think that it wouldn't get stuck. If it's stickier, it would get stuck.
I don't know. I do know this. We've already talked about it too much. We've already talked about these freaking Wilson balls too much.
How do we get on the Wilson? Oh yeah, because Kalsher. Oh yeah. I do like what he said though. It's a ball. Okay. Yeah. I practice with it. It's fine.
I don't want to jinx Gabe and have him go out and go like 2 of 15 now, but I again, like he was just right in front of me, so I thought I'd ask him. Yeah, and Simon makes a good point too. So like Iowa State just scores so many of its points off of turnovers. Pitt is like top 30 in the country and holding on to the basketball. So it is a really intriguing matchup today. I think that if you just look at total body of work, Iowa State deserves to be a 5-point favorite in this one. But we've also just learned with Iowa State, it really just depends on them more so. I mean, they can go out and kill Baylor and Waco by 20, or they can lose at home in double digits to Oklahoma. You just don't really know. I did find it interesting yesterday that Ott said he said he thinks his team is playing their best basketball of the season right now.
That's great.
At one point they're in the top 15, and he's saying that now. So that's good news if you're an Iowa State fan.
Sure.
Do you have any changed opinions on Drake? Miami. Drake is like
I wasn't. Jesus Christ! I wasn't. I wanted to ask you about Iowa State.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
I don't know why you have to use the Lord's name in vain when you get upset.
I want to ask you this now that we have the opponent, because last time it was before the first 4 game. Would you rather play Pitt or Mississippi State?
I'd rather play Pitt.
Why?
Because Mississippi State is, to me, I like to do comps this time of year. So, like,
I going to say Mississippi State's a lot like Iowa State.
They're a lot like Oklahoma State is the team I would compare them to.
Okay. I heard a lot of people say that they wanted the opponent today to be Pitt because Mississippi State is such a good defensive team, a lot like Iowa State. But doesn't it concern you a little bit that this Pitt team just beat that team? They have experience playing recently against a team just like Iowa State.
Yeah, it does.
And they beat them.
Yeah, it certainly does. And they're, again, like Pitt's good enough on offense where they could be that 11 seed that gets hot. Like they're good enough to do that. But again, like I'm just looking at Iowa State's profile, okay? And I like to do comps this time of year. Who does this team remind you of in your conference?
Mm-hmm.
And Mississippi State, the smart people I asked, their comp was Oklahoma State, and Pitt's was Baylor. Well, who did Iowa State have more success against? So that's where I go off of it. You know, and if Pitt is out there and they hit 12 threes that are tough shots, then credit them. But
well, they're not playing Iowa, so I don't think that'll happen.
I worry about Iowa State's offense being so bad against those elite style defensive teams. This is why I think Xavier is a pretty good draw if Iowa State can get by Pitt, because it's another similar type of team where you can bully them around, be physical. That's what Iowa State wants to do. It's hard for them to do that. I don't think they would have beat Auburn because that would have been hard for them to do against a team like Auburn. The NCAA tournament is all about matchups. Now, does that mean Iowa State's going to win just because I think it's a good matchup? Absolutely not. You see teams get hot. But this thing lays out for Iowa State to have another potential Sweet 16 run based off of matchups alone.
All right, we can move on to Drake now.
You're good now?
We should do like a sounder. Drake basketball.
Go and get your bets into. Download the channel seed. Channel is not into sports betting, but if they were, I'm sure it'd be fantastic. But our friends at Circa are. Download it today. They're doing NCAA wrestling too. You can do that. I believe there's some women's basketball lines up there with both the women's teams getting after it in the NCAA tournament coming up. When you download the Circa Sports Iowa app, they have a pretty good feeling that it's coming from us. And then that helps us to give you free badass content like this. So we ask you, there's a ton of options. Do the independent one like we are. Circa Sports Iowa, download their app today. You don't have to go to a casino. I had a couple people ask me recently, do I have to go to a casino? No. We love our friends at Wild Rose Casino. You can go out and support them, but you don't have to go there to download the app. Do you have any different
your
feelings
imitation
about
of your friends? Do I have to go to the casino? Do I have to go to the casino? Place bets?
Type of guys I hang out with. Do you have any different opinions on Drake? Is like the hot upset pick right now.
Yeah. I love Drake. I love the team. I love how old they are, how experienced they are. And they do have that thing that they didn't have a few years ago, which was the conference player of the year, the coach's son, the young gun. But I don't like the matchup. I don't like that they got Miami, a team that is also really experienced and a team that's been there, done that. These bastards were in the Elite Eight last year.
Pretty much the same team, too.
Yes. I also don't like that they're the sexy pick. I don't like that. I know we saw Furman win yesterday, but think of the sexy picks yesterday. It was Charleston over San Diego State. It was Oral Roberts over Duke. No. Didn't happen.
Oral Roberts, it took him 10 minutes to score in that game?
Yeah, it was like 14-0. I have Miami winning. But I tell you, if Drake can win this game, I think they've got a great shot to get to the Sweet 16 because I don't really love Indiana. I'm not sure Indiana gets by Kent State today. I just don't like the fact that they are the trendy pick. People are picking them to the Sweet 16, and they have to play this team that everybody just overlooks. Like, nobody talks about Miami. I guarantee you 90% of people filling out brackets this year didn't remember that they made the Elite Eight last year. You don't think about Miami as a basketball school. Jim Larinaga is a great coach.
The vibe around here yesterday, and I am in the heart of ACC country, okay? Like, there's
in Greensboro, yeah.
Yeah. Talking to some journalists and stuff around here, they all, now these are Pitt people, okay? But they think that the ACC is, they don't think that it's great by any means, but they think that the vibe is that it's a little bit underrated. Probably a little bit, gotten a little bit too beat up here the last couple.
Is it usually that's kind of how it goes in the tournament? That the conference that is by far and away the best in the regular season tends to struggle more than you think, and the conference that we think is the worst tends to do better than we think. you could look at the top teams in the ACC though, and you could be like, oh my God, yeah, Duke, man, they just killed Oral Roberts. And then, Virginia, their highest seed, looked like crap against Furman and got beat.
Yeah, I don't know. Just passing it along to our listeners.
Do you have Drake advancing?
No.
Matty Van Wink, do you have Drake advancing?
I do.
But
just because I like Drake.
Oh,
I know.
I don't dislike Drake. Don't put me in that corner.
Yeah, I like Drake too. I'm a bit surprised
as
well that this is the tightest spread of all the 12.
I think it'll probably come down to rebounding, to be honest. I mean, Drake's got Brody down there, but I don't know. We saw Miami last year in the NCAA tournament, and
they're really good.
They kind of ran Iowa State out of the gym,
Drake will play better defense than Miami will. I can promise you that. But
I have one.
That was one of those deals where it's like it doesn't really matter the defense you play if a team is just hitting crazy shots. And Pitt could do that to Iowa State today. They actually can do that. They have the guys to do that, and that's what we saw Miami do last year in that Sweet 16 game. And Iowa State never really was in that one. So I mean, I'm picking Miami, but I'm not like I do think that there's a reason why the spread is as low as it is. Right. And that there's so many of these smart basketball people picking Drake to advance.
Yeah. I just hate the matchup. Just like I hate that FAU, my darling Owls, got matched up with Memphis. I hate that.
I got FAU.
I hate. You do? I don't.
FAU.
I've got Memphis. I hope FAU wins. I really do. Okay, the key to the bracket, the key to filling out your bracket and rooting for or against upsets.
Let's see that bracket, Hassel.
Shut that dog up.
Sorry.
Give that dog a slap. It'll never bark again.
Shut that thing up.
So here's my bracket. Boy, that's a yippy little dog, huh? So the key here in the first round, there's too many people just root for the team they pick to win that game. Like, for instance, I had Arizona beating Princeton, Arizona going to the Sweet 16. But they're a 2 seed, okay? A lot of people have Arizona in the Final Four. I know some people that picked them to win it all. If you only have a 2 seed advancing to the Sweet 16, root against their ass in the first round. Yeah. That's better for you. Because I have Creighton beating Arizona.
I did too. Coach Mack.
Too many times I see these people like, well, but I have Purdue. I have Purdue beating Farley Dickinson. So yeah, but you have them losing in the next round to Memphis. So go Dickinson. So it's all about keeping your Final Four, your Elite Eight intact, and to a lesser extent, your Sweet 16. But other than that, root for chaos, baby. And yes, that was Brent Bloom worrying about.
I have some money to pay the 100 deckers.
Felt like that was like you were going in for something else, and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna go into the Bloom thing here.
I'm just gonna pull a little Bloom.
Crystal, Chris's dog is pooping in my yard again. Will you go out there and tell him to stop it and clean it up?
Is Bloom out there with you?
Deck Energy T-shirts.
No, Bloom's not here.
What? What do you mean he's not there?
Bloom only leaves his house for like a couple times a year. He went to Vegas.
He was at the Big 12 tournament. Why isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got out.
This is the real one. This is the one that matters.
I don't know. He's not here though. I have to talk to him about that.
Damn.
I got a couple of NFL topics real quick. Kyle wants to know, do we have any St. Patty's Day plans? I will be at an arena all day.
I'm going to watch every single game. You might notice my TV that usually is back here is gone. So I've taken all my TVs and I've put them in one spot in my living room so I can watch all 4 games at once. My wife loves it. She loves it.
Did you see YouTube TV as a new feature? You can have 4 different screens up. Love it.
Wow, yes, really? And I have YouTube TV, but I already moved all the TVs, and it's, I want them bigger than that. I don't want a quad box on one screen. I want 4 big screens.
You need the projector like Williams.
Yeah.
So, Williams, are you going to watch, what is Iowa State, the second game of the day?
Yes.
Are you going to watch the other games at the venue, or are you going to?
Yeah, I probably will. I'm gonna.
Okay.
May as well.
You know what I've found covering the NCAA tournament? The people watching in the media room is one of my favorite pastimes. You will see some incredible sights.
Speaking of that, I was thinking about this in Kansas City last week, and I wanted to talk about it on the show at some point, and you just kind of led me into it. Is there any more disgusting smelling place on the planet than a men's restroom with a bunch of sports writers?
Oh, my God.
They're all out drinking all night, just eating fast food and just shit for weeks at a time, and then they just go in there
and
just explode.
They're disgusting people to begin with.
Yeah, sports writers, we're horrible humans. Like, it's ugh.
Is that you consider yourself a sports writer?
What do you consider me to be?
I don't consider you a sports writer.
I used to be.
I consider you a media guy.
Yeah, well, I used to do.
You do all kinds of other things. A sports writer is like who would be a sports writer? Like a Pat Hardy. Even though he's got a radio show, but he's a sports
Williams,
writer.
I thought you always called yourself a hack blogger. Come on.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah, you're a blogger.
Whatever you guys want me to be. But
you're right,
again,
though.
The bathroom.
Disgusting.
Oh, just that faint smell of shit, and it's always there.
You know what blows my mind in these, when we go to these tournaments and cover these games, is in the media room, they'll have these like desserts. And these people in the middle of the day, it's like 1 PM, and they're shoveling cookies and brownies in their mouth. Like, what? You're going to eat that and you're going to set yourself up for failure the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Desserts should only be eaten when it's dark out.
The lady there yesterday, I think her name was Elsie, handed me my boxed lunch, because now it's like we don't have like media meals anymore. They give you these vouchers and whatever.
Vouchers?
Yeah. Well, that's how they're doing it here. So I was like, give her my voucher. And she wanted to give me this like giant like ice cream, like the things with like the 2 cookies, Thelma's, and there's ice cream in the middle.
Oh my God! Yes, my dad used to get those. They were called Mr. Chippers.
They're amazing. But had it's a bad decision at 2 PM.
My dad, they were from Whitey's, which is an institution in eastern Iowa. They were called Mr. Chipper, and it was these 2 huge. It was in the frozen aisle at the grocery store. 2 huge chocolate chip cookies, and in the middle was ice cream. And my dad would eat one of those things every night. That just one of those was like 1,800 calories. And he'd eat one every night.
Man knows what he likes.
But I'll give him credit. My dad only has dessert when it's dark outside. You can't be having an ice cream sundae at a basketball game in the media room while you're working at 1:15 in the afternoon.
You're going to put yourself to sleep.
I'm sorry. Just like you shouldn't be drinking that early either. Like that's come on. Let's pace ourselves. Let's show some restraint. Just because it's free doesn't mean you should eat it.
That's so true. That's so true. And I've felt that before. Every human being knows that. It's like, well, if they're going to give me this, I mean, I got to eat this.
Well, geez, it's a good spread here. They've got that's okay. Caramel brownies, chocolate chip cookies. Okay, well, piece of cake. Yeah. Why do they put this out in the media room? Why we don't need this. Put some like granola bars out. I just load up on the protein. Like they've got chicken or steak or
you're just
put that all over my plate.
So spot on about the people watching in the media room at the NCAA tournament.
Oh, the rugs that you'll see on these old guys that come in, the dye hair jobs. Oh, there was one year I was covering, I think it was Iowa State against Kentucky, the Royce White year, and Ashley Judd was always in the media room. So she's always waltzing through there, and you never know who she's going to be with. That was always fun to see.
I wonder if she'll be here today.
Is Kentucky with you?
Here. Yeah.
Yep, she might.
I saw Calipari walking around the hotel the other day.
Did you?
He's not
talked to
here,
him?
but he was at, no, I didn't. I'm not going to bother him. He didn't give a shit about me. You think I'm going to go up to John Calipari?
Thank God.
And be like, hey,
that's why I love you, Chris. Don't bother these guys.
No.
Just leave them be.
They're just humans.
Yeah. And they don't want to talk to you, I promise.
No. And he would have been nice to me, but he doesn't want to talk to me. Inside his head, he would have been like, Jesus Christ, get this guy away from me. Guaranteed. All right, real quick, before we go, I do want to hit a couple of NFL things. I want to talk about your Bears. I mean, I think you guys absolutely nailed this trade. I think
Are you talking about the trade, the one that got him, dropped him to 9 and picked up extra draft picks?
I couldn't believe you got DJ Moore in it.
Yeah, it's amazing what these teams will pay to move up in the draft. Teams will pay more, and the Bears did this back in the day to move up one spot from 3 to 2 to get Mitch freaking Trubisky. They will give everything to move up a few spots in the draft, but then like you go out, you trade for an all-pro receiver, and it's like, well, it's a conditional 3rd-round pick. It's so bizarre. I also like that the Bears did not bring back, I'm sorry to say this, David Montgomery. And it has nothing to do with David Montgomery.
Just don't pay him. Don't pay a guy that much.
You don't pay running backs that
absolutely
have already played a few years. Like running backs, as my buddy Pete Prisco, who works at CBS Sports, always says, running backs grow on trees. You draft one, you run them into the ground, and you draft another one. You don't pay them big money on their second contract. And that's why I also think, I feel like something needs to be done about what running backs get paid, because they don't get paid very well anymore. And they only last a few years. Like they should be paid more up front that's when they're really valuable, when they're 23, 24, 25, because they're not when they're 30. They're done. I mean, just think about Leonard Fournette. He seems ancient. He's still like, I think he's in his 20s.
What's crazy is, so we're kind of going through this in Minnesota with Dalvin Cook, and they want to trade him.
Yeah, don't pay him. Look at Zeke. Look what the Cowboys did with Zeke.
But like,
they paid him, and it didn't work.
Dalvin Cook's one of the best running backs in football by any standard, and he's only going to get them like a 3rd through 7th round pick.
Wow. Yeah.
Like it, which I get it. Like I wouldn't trade much for him either, and he's relatively old at this point in his career. But I love what the Bears. Now here's my question to you as a Bears fan. I would swap places with the Vikings and Bears in a heartbeat right now. The Vikings are always in football hell because they're always good enough to make the playoffs, but they're never good enough they're never bad enough to get like that elite
and that's
pick.
kind of what the Bears have been for the last 10, 15 years.
Do you trust your franchise?
Quarterback purgatory. You've got a guy at Minnesota in Kirk Cousins that's good enough to get you to the postseason, good enough to maybe win a game, but not good enough to really compete. And
you have to pay him too much, and you can't load up the rest of your roster. So he's Dak Prescott. They're the exact same scenario. My question to you is, do you trust the Bears organization to not screw this up?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But I do feel better about where they are right now than where they were a couple of years ago. And I like that they didn't cut ties with Justin Fields and take a flyer on a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud because you just don't know with these guys. And I think Justin Fields has proven that he could be good. He could be really good. We'll see. But who knows about these other guys? You know that Fields can be potentially a game changer. So keep riding with him. You got so many problems elsewhere, or at least you did going into this offseason. Fill those other holes. Give him some help. Let Montgomery go to the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got a shot.
Last thing I had is the Packers, Jets, Aaron Rodgers saga. So I thought it was a real tell when Alan Lazard signed with the Jets. We all know how close Alan and Aaron Rodgers are. They're like best friends. I'm sure you've been talking about this on HQ, but Pro Football Talk reporting the Packers want the Jets' first-round pick, which is the 13th, and they're also trying to negotiate something in 2025 if Rodgers plays for 2 years. It feels like this is going to get done, but God, this is such a bad marriage between the two. Like, if I'm a Packers fan, I couldn't ship Aaron Rodgers out of there fast enough, and I am not a Packers fan. But it's just...
So you would take less just to get him out of there than have this keep going down the tracks?
I mean, what are you accomplishing right now with him?
Well,
Like,
I mean, he's
just
not
a
going
huge
to – no, I'm not
distraction.
saying, like, keep him to play, but
Yeah.
I think that they could – I think they can get maybe more than they should for him. You remember Brett Favre when the same thing happened with Brett Favre, and Kyle says Favre 2.0. The Packers traded Brett Favre to the Jets. It was 15 years ago. You know what the Packers got in return?
No, I don't.
A third-round pick. And Favre was a year younger than
Wow.
Rodgers is now. So,
And believe it or not, he was less of a distraction.
yeah, you're right. He was.
That's
a good point. But Favre had a lot more left to give than people realized. He
Yeah.
wasn't great with the Jets, but then he went to the Vikings.
Yeah.
Almost took him to the Super Bowl. And I don't know if you're going to get more than 1 year from Rodgers. I do think the Jets need to have something in that deal that protects them for that second year. Because if you're trading for him for 1 year, that's a lot different than if you're getting multiple years out of him. And I think it might only be 1 year. You heard him. He said he was 90% sure he was going to retire when he went into the darkness. And then he saw
This
something
guy.
in the light.
This guy.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
I want to do the darkness thing. I want to try this.
No.
I want to get some
You wanna
clarity.
do-
here.
oh,
yeah, I
no,
want
no,
some clarity.
Now, see, what would happen with you is you'd go into the darkness and then you'd be like, oh, there's a ghost. Oh, another ghost.
No, man, I'd sit there and I'd let them communicate with me. I wouldn't yell back, none of that. I would see what they want me to know.
By the way, we have just been informed by a Matthew Van Wink that we have a record number of viewers today. Congratulations.
Over 300 live viewers. I love it.
Congrats,
That'd be
Matt.
cool. It's not me. It's you.
Hey, it's kind of nice when you kind of put yourself. We can go anytime we want. We can put ourselves right in the middle. After Iowa's game last night,
It's a
right
huge
before Iowa
advantage.
State and Drake,
Independent, baby.
and you got these poor saps over there, Murph and Andy, who they're just set. They got their set, and they got to go. I think they got to go live during the Iowa State game today.
That's brutal.
Brutal.
That's brutal. I might go. Maybe we could do another one if Iowa State or Drake advance. Maybe we could do a little weekend show. Just pop on
Yeah.
for
Yep.
20 minutes.
Yep.
Feels like that'd be a good move. Matt says Lazard might have a darkness retreat at his house in Bondurant. Go check it out, CW.
Isn't he your neighbor?
Yeah.
He lives right
Right down
between me and
Yeah, he lives in between me and Matt. It's great.
Let's just bring the lawn chairs out. Maybe he'll bring Rodgers for a little summer retreat.
Yeah,
I like
you
it.
guys.
Isn't it
Williams is out
bizarre?
walking his dog over to Bloom's to take a dump, and he sees Rodgers just
Hit
over
me.
at Lazard's house.
So Alan did that podcast with me last year. He came over and we drank some whiskey and we did a like hour and a half podcast in my basement. And like it just blew my mind because, and you have too, Chris. We've known Alan since he was like a sophomore in high school when he was at Urbandale. Like he was this all-world prospect and just whatever. We've known him for a long time. And talking to him about his relationship with Rodgers is just fascinating to me. He was like, yeah, I go over to Aaron's quite a bit. I think he said something like, he's like, yeah, whenever his Spanish tutor is done on Tuesday nights, I always go over to Aaron's house.
Spanish tutor? He's a weird bird.
But you can see the problem that Aaron Rodgers has become because like Brady, it's all football. Right? Like it's all, but Rodgers just like he's darkness retreats, like doing like, you know, all these.
Remember
like,
when he went out to
things.
Hawaii with his then girlfriend?
Yeah, he did and then like the whole like, what did he do? Like some sort of experimental COVID drug or something like that got everybody amped up. It's just like, it's just one thing after another with this guy.
Have you seen those new the COVID commercials they've been running like every break during the tournament?
What the hell is that?
It's like, hi, I've got COVID and I'm fat, so I'm at extra. If it's COVID, it's Paxlovid. Hi. If you're a fat ass and you've got COVID, you are 90% more likely to have complications.
I saw one the other day. I saw one yesterday that was like aimed at SEC fans. It was like, are you an SEC fan? Make sure you're up to date on your COVID booster.
God. If it's COVID and you're fat, get Paxlovid.
I've got diabetes.
I've got type 2 diabetes.
Hey, Hassel, I was on YouTube the other day, and one of your spoofs from Sound Off came on. It was the Geico guy talking about Iowa State fans.
Oh my God. So I got word that Marty Terrell was around the NCAA tournament in Des Moines, and I was doing your impression of Marty for about 24 hours straight here in Greens. It's a Mazzoti's Monday. Mouth of the Midwest radio program.
Mouth of the Midwest radio program. Stevie Lupke along the way.
So I'm with like Stansberry, who's just old enough he knows who Marty is. But like,
I'm surprised he even.
Nick Osen from 247 has no clue who this guy is. Just a lot of these like younger reporters don't know the Marty Terrell thing. And I was just walking around all day on Wednesday. I'm like, it's Monday, Mouth of the Midwest radio program.
One of my favorite Sound Off skits, which unfortunately wasn't saved. So it was a one and done thing, and we've never seen it again. Was we did a skit about that huge blow up at KXNO when Marty like accidentally turned on the microphone, and it was Marty and Kotler and Marty Kotler. Poor Jeff Kahn got caught up in the mix. And I think John Miller was there too. And it was this time of year, like 15 years ago during the tournament. And we did a skit. I did a skit where I played Marty during that. And God, it was so much fun. I loved doing the Marty Terrell impersonation.
It was about like credentials for like boys high school championship, right? Something like that.
It was like, yeah. And Larry was like, oh, I didn't do it. He's like, yes, you fucking did. You went to Bud Light, you goddamn son of a bitch. And it went out over the air on KXNO. This is the great thing. Like, we can say all the stuff that they said right here.
Yeah.
And people will just laugh.
Yeah, nobody cares.
That got like 4 people fired at KXNO.
What a deal. Well, real quick before we wrap it up, Stacy is saying, Matt, how's she wants to know how the hand, the feet, and the mouth are doing.
Oh yeah, have
They're
your
much
fingernails
better,
fallen off yet,
much
Matt?
better.
Yeah.
We
Are
made
they
a quick
peeling off?
recovery. The nails are fine.
Are you sure?
Give it time.
Oh, that was a real quick.
I got all my
Okay,
fingernails
all
are
right,
intact.
All right, the fingernails are there.
It was a mild case. We're back, baby.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I found out I had hand, foot, and mouth. I had been out earlier in the day mowing my lawn. And you guys ever done like the weed eater where that thing's pumping so hard that it makes your hands like tingle?
Yeah.
So like my hands were like extra tingly that day.
Did you give yourself the stranger?
When I was whacking.
Yeah, you were whacking all right.
So I come back in, I take a shower, and my hands are still tingly.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh man, that was some damn good weed whacking I just did. It'll go away. Just let it roll. And those goddamn hands kept getting even more tingly and more and that's how I found out. Because then I started having these sores on my feet. That's how I found out that I had the hand, the foot, and the mouth.
Oh, you poor saps.
It's brutal when adults get it. I'm glad you had a minor case because some people are like down and out.
He seems fine. Look at him.
Yeah.
He looks great. Yeah. He's all decked out in his Iowa State gear. He's got Iowa State advancing. He's got Drake advancing. It's going to be a big day for Van Wink.
I hope so, man. It's so much more fun when our teams aren't out in the first round. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be a side dick to Iowa fans. It's just like
a side dick. I think side dick is a little bit different than you think it is.
And you could meet Xavier in the next round and at berth to the Sweet 16 in Kansas City. Man.
But we're going to be in Vegas.
I know. What are we going to do?
Wow. Yeah.
I guess we're going to have to suck it up and watch the Cyclones in the Sweet 16 from the world's largest sports book.
I hope if that happens, it goes a little bit better for you than when you watched Iowa State the last time you were there. You watched the Iowa State men lose by 90 to Iowa.
And the women lost.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Back-to-back nights.
Horrible. No, yeah, honestly, like that's a deal where that's tough but I think that what I would probably do is definitely watch the Sweet 16 game out there. If they would somehow make it to the Elite Eight, I'd probably catch a direct to Kansas City to go cover that game hopefully on Sunday, because we're going back on Sunday anyways. But we'll see. But hell, Iowa State has to beat Pitt before we can even.
Yeah. Well, they got to beat Pitt, and then most likely Xavier, and then it would be a date with either Penn State or Texas. Penn State looked good last night.
Penn State looked really good.
Ooh.
So did Northwestern. What is it with these Mountain West teams that just suck in the NCAA tournament?
I'm so sick of it. I make this mistake every time the Mountain West has like 3 or 4 teams in the tournament and they have a good year. But then in the first 4, when I saw what Arizona State did to Steve Alford in Nevada, I changed a couple of picks. But I didn't change the Northwestern Boise pick. And boy, do I regret it.
The whole Oklahoma State Nevada thing is just insane. Like, Nevada was horrible coming into the tournament. Horrible. Like, and then they proved it in the first 4. Just ran out of the freaking gym. I'm over the Mountain West as well. And San Diego State just barely made it. So yeah. Well, what's going on here?
Let's give a quick shout out to our guy Simon. He's a loyal listener, loyal follower. Going to the game in Greensboro.
I love Simon. He's a guy. Simon, come look me up. I'll give you.
Which comment are you fired up about, Williams?
Who's this guy writing about alcohol in here? Have you seen this?
This guy or gal, Super Hearing Cloud, has been all over. He's trying to get everybody off alcohol. This is like the third time.
I think the reference was to the media members smelling the bathroom up. He's saying alcohol is the reason for that.
I don't think so. I think he's doing some preaching here.
Mm,
He wants you to get dry,
maybe
Matt.
you're right.
This is all Van Winkle here. It's a big drinker, Matt is. Yeah, but Simon's a good dude. Looking forward to seeing him. And then Mr. Teddy, he asked who's the bigger elitist, Chris or Chris? Chris is the bigger elitist. This is an easy.
I don't know.
answer.
You're staying at that Tea Time Hotel.
Well, it's because they put me here. I wouldn't have stayed here. Kidding me? It's the media hotel. You get a better rate. You get a shuttle.
You're also the one spending $75 a shot for Pappy Van Hoodwinked. I would never do that.
It was.
I think you're more of an elitist than you think. You are.
I did splurge at the Walgreens across the street from here to get the buy one get one on Pringles the other day. So perhaps I am.
Boy, that is a media person move right there.
Yeah.
Pringles. You
All
bought
right.
Pringles to have in your hotel room?
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Because I don't want to spend the money down at the hotel lobby on
What do you
snacks.
need Pringles in your hotel room for?
To snack on.
Oh, boy.
I went to Walgreens. I bought a bunch of water and Coors Light.
Coors
Pringles.
Light. They
Well,
don't,
they don't
didn't
got
have
Bush
Bush
down here. No, they don't have it down here. So the next best thing.
All right. Well, we've
get out of
gone way over our
We'll give a
hour.
quick
I
shout
just
out to
wanna
our
talk.
women's teams. Iowa women tonight, Cyclone women Saturday.
Yep.
Are the
That's why I
Iowa
say,
women
like,
gonna
Iowa's going to kill that 15 seed.
But
the Iowa State
but their next
women-
game is going to be against Florida State or Georgia.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they going to pull a Creighton again like last year?
I don't feel like they will this year. I think the Iowa women are legit. I think the Iowa State women they have a bad draw having to play Tennessee in Knoxville.
Yeah.
But there are not 10 teams in the country playing better than them right now. Both of our teams are really, really in a good spot. But Iowa State just had that rough middle stretch of the season to put them at
Mhm.
a 5. So they get a tough draw having to play a true road game. But we'll see. I wouldn't want to play Iowa State or Iowa right now. I think that they both are Final Four type of teams. But, yeah, I don't know anything about Florida State and Georgia.
I just hate that it's the same exact time as the men. I wish there was a way to separate the women, put them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I know that's not fair, but I would watch more women's tournament games if that was the case.
I understand completely. You're right. You don't want to know. You want to know the stupid programming move of all time
What's that?
in sports, and it happens every year. Is that NASCAR is always on the West Coast, and they're running a race during the NCAA tournament selection show. Every year, they're in Phoenix, and they start their races later, right, when it's in the mountain or the end of the race is always during the selection show. It's the all-time stupid.
Hang on a second. I'm getting a call. Hello? Hello?
Why are you taking calls
Who's
while
this?
we're on the air?
Yeah, this is him.
My name is Pat, and I'm calling from Property Builders.
Yeah.
And the reason for my call today is because that the county has approved a finance program that gives homeowners to do any hurricane protection improvements.
Hang on, let me get my wife. Never should have answered that. Could you hear it? She's like, the county has approved a new home loan system, property tax, blah, 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 blah.
You sound not like that PA announcer at the Iowa game last night.
What the hell was that all about? Now, I will say this. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was a woman or a young child. And I'm hoping that it was like a young child from maybe like the hospital, like they gave somebody a chance to.
Kind of like when they let you and Bloom call.
Yeah, the MediaCom sports announcer wannabe contest. It was. I don't think that the person did a bad job, but it was so loud all day. You could hear every single word this person said over the PA system. That's what was driving me crazy.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Record
Joining us
numbers
here
today. Record live viewers.
from the Channel Seed Studios. We are presented
Spreading
as always,
our seed from the Missouri to the Mississippi and beyond. Channel Seed. And by Fairway Meat and Grocery. We'll send you a box of meat. And by Circa Sports Iowa.
Hey, did you see the video from Circa of the reaction to the Furman shot?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was great. I always love those Circa reactions.
That was awesome. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening on the podcast later on. And we may be doing a little special show. We'll see how everything goes, and we'll make a schedule and let you all know. Thanks to Maddie Van Winkle for their production.
And look at Maddie Van
we'll be
Winkle. He's
back.
already up with the video of the reaction from Circa.
Crushing
I
it
wish
here.
there was a camera in our newsroom at CBS Sports HQ when that happened, because it was even crazier than all the other videos we've seen, because we had all these people that had like bets on the game, had Furman advancing, we had Virginia fans, and it was insane. There were like 30 people in the newsroom, and we all just went nuts at one time. What an all-time bonehead move by that, seventh year senior.
Brutal.
They had a timeout. He could have called a timeout.
They got our seats reserved there, Chris. You see that? Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
They already got our
There you
seats
go.
reserved.
You got two. They got two. That's one for Williams and one for Van Wink. I don't know where John Miller's going to sit, but
Miller is going to be passed out in the back.
yeah, Miller will be in his room just eating shrooms and just ripping ball
Miller's
hits.
basically Aaron Rodgers anymore.
He is. You're right. He's turned into Rodgers.
All right. Love you guys.
Oh,
Thanks
wait,
for
hang
watching.
on. Is Miller going to
What?
have his new hair by the time that you guys
That's
go
a
out to
great
Vegas?
question. I don't know.
I'm really
I don't know.
interested in this.
All right. Have a great
Wow,
weekend.
this is the longest show we've ever done, an hour and 12 minutes.
I just keep trying to end it, and you won't let me.
Yeah. All right.
Love you guys. Everybody have a great weekend.